This is a clip from the Cannon podcast. To hear the full episode and get access to exclusive benefits, head over to patreon.com/thecannonpod and sign up for just £3 a month.
Talking about centre forwards, there has been a lot of rumours recently. One being Evan Ferguson. You've also got Victor Osimhen as well. Always rumours about Arsenal strikers. Now, I don't think we'll sign one this window, despite some fans saying we've got to sign a striker. I don't see it this window. It is something for next summer, but the strikers are out there right now, and there's the markets there as well. Things can obviously change, but last year we kind of knew, not by this stage, maybe by January, that Arsenal were going to target Declan Rice. So in terms of next year, if it is the phase 5 is to get that big name centre forward, who's that one name that you guys are looking at right now going, you know what, this is the striker that I want next summer? Alex, take it away.
There's two names that immediately come to mind. One is Evan Ferguson and one is Victor Osimhen. I like them both. I wonder whether Ferguson makes more sense because I still feel like you have to evolve a team very carefully.
Yeah.
I think the idea of just throwing everything away and ripping up and starting anew is exciting in many ways. You know, the idea of like Arsenal getting rid of Gabby Jesus and Osimhen's coming in. If that doesn't click, even for 5 games in this league, that's a concern. Like the level of competition is so high that, and the financial clout is so big that you can afford to do that. You can afford to have a season of Gabby Jesus and Victor Osimhen deciding exactly how, as an example, exactly how that works. Will Victor Osimhen want to do that? I doubt it. And I think that could be detrimental to us. So I think someone like an Evan Ferguson who can come in, who's still got development time to go, clearly has all the fundamentals, the pace, the power, the ability to move centre backs, the ability to drop he's just got everything, and like it's so exciting. But he is young, and there's he has you imagine it almost like he's got all the things cooking on the stove, but they still need time to boil. The potatoes are only half done, the carrots are only half done. Like there's still time to go. So I think while we're still boiling those things, we can still have that kind of false 90 thing. But again, some people might say to you that their favourite type of striker is that Gabby Jesus, that facilitative striker, like as George mentioned earlier, Firmino. That's not mine, but I understand those people who say that. I just think the value of having a striker who can get you 25, 30 goals a season beats everything. But if you have Sacco Martinelli, who consistently can both get you 20, that's 40 goals, and then you have 10 in the middle. Or 10 and 15 in the middle. So I can understand that. But in the end, we can talk all we want about tactics, output. And if we can work a way of getting that output across the front three, we are, to continue the metaphor, cooking. So yeah, those two, cooking. But yeah.
I think the thing with Ferguson is because he's 18 and he's got a long-term contract until 2028, and we know how Brighton operate. We might have got Ben White for them and Trossard, but 115 for Caicedo. Chelsea have done it once again. They have changed the market. They have ruined the market for everyone. And now everyone that goes to Brighton goes, look, if they sold Caicedo for that amount, if Ferguson has, as expected, a strong year this year, because Brighton are going to make a lot of chances, and if they can keep De Zerbi, he will score 10 plus goals, maybe 15 league goals, and that will be at 18 years of age, a pretty high standard. With that being kept in mind, at that young age, George, can Ferguson be that striker to take Arsenal to a Champions League? Because that's the aim will be. If we're going to spend, what God knows what will be. I think it will be over £100 million on a striker. Yeah. If that's going to be the case, is Evan Ferguson that player that can actually elevate us to that standard like Declan Rice can?
He is an elite talent. The only question that I've got of that type is, do I want that type of striker? Not so much the talent. I don't question, is he worth £100 million? Yes, he is. You pay that tomorrow. Is he worth £120 million? I would pay it tomorrow. But the thing is, he's going to give you 10 years of sample. So, of course, he's going to give you something that is a little bit more in the Harry Kane mold. Everybody loves that comparison in terms of who he is. But I just think, for me, he's a penalty box striker. What do I mean by that? He runs within the distance of the penalty box. He's not somebody that likes to drift out wide and interchange with his wingers. He is somebody that does look, that knockdown from Raya to Ramsdale, the whole thing that we were talking about earlier in the pod with a knockdown for Kai Havertz to receive. Evan Ferguson can do all of that. And he's somebody that, with a little bit of growth, I think has a little bit more potential creatively too, by the way. Like when he comes deep to step on the ball and then turn and face, I think he does have a lot more playmaking ability to kind of unlock. But he's just not somebody that I would assume could go and overlap in the wide channels and run the width of the wide channels. Who am I describing? Anybody that's watched Victor Osimhen knows exactly that's my type of striker. I prefer somebody in general that doesn't have a bias, somebody that can do the channel running that, a Ferguson can do, but also has the fluid overlap that a Jesus can provide us. And I think when you look at our attack, the reason it's so unpredictable and why so many people get goals is because we do have a striker that can do that. The only thing that I would wish is that striker to have more box presence and more aerial ability. And guess what? Victor Osimhen has that in spades. So when I look at it, he's a little bit older. I think he's in the last year of his contract. So when you're looking at a value perspective, it's not like between the two of them you're asking is one going to be a little bit more money than the other. I think they're going to be very similar valuations, maybe within 15 to 20% of each other. And maybe if Victor's a little bit more than that, he's worth it. He's got over 40 years of sample. He's won 2 league titles. I think this is a boy that for me is worth that 20%. But I think in terms of just Evan Ferguson in general, he is worth the talent and he is worth the homegrown status. He is England's future number one. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about the talent.
He's Irish.
Well, oh yeah, sorry, he is Irish.
Don't say that.
That's a very big no-no.
You, man.
Very, very poor. Sorry. Well,
He's certainly Ireland's. He's certainly Ireland's number one.
He's certainly Ireland's number one. But no, he is somebody that I think he will be the elite profile of that type of striker, right? He is going to be worth the money. But again, I don't think he'll be worth the money immediately. That's another thing that you do have to say. Like, I don't think he's 100 million now. I could sit there and say Victor Osimhen is. But again, look, no talent is. Like, there is no talent right now that I think is worth 100 million pounds except for Declan Rice. And we got him. So it's difficult to say whether or not we go towards that type in the future. I would just ask, I prefer a different profile of striker, somebody that can go wide and inside.
Yeah, I think with Osimhen and Ferguson, what's going to be so important for them is how would they buy into the Arsenal project? One thing that's been very important for Arsenal this summer is whoever we signed really wanted to sign for us. Now, Osimhen will be a man in demand. PSG, Man United, a lot of teams we want him. Chelsea as well. They'll be in the race. So if Osimhen's like, I want to go to Arsenal, and Arsenal's the club I really want to go to, maybe they'll got to put the funds forward. But, and then with Evan Ferguson, I think he might be more willing to buy into the project because he's younger in the Premier League. Osimhen will have a lot of clubs in Europe after him as well. Saudi clubs are there as well. Don't forget those guys. They've always got the funds as well. I think the real question here is, can either of these two be our Erling Haaland type of player? That real level raise in terms of goals. Can they score that 25, 30 goals and, help Arsenal not just, win a Premier League title, but in the Champions League score important goals, Alex?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Ferguson, obviously, you're banking on talent development, but he's got everything. Like, he has all the fundamentals. I think they both can. The one thing I will say is I think we underrate how important environment is for players.
Yeah.
Like, you can take one play. You look at Caicedo, right, going into... No one is doubting Caicedo's talent. But I had a look at that Chelsea midfield at the weekend, and I thought, ooh, if you're asking Caicedo to play in those types of distances, you're going to have some trouble. It's not to say that he won't do well and won't play well. Now, he might adapt, and I might have, this could be complete rubbish. But it's different environment, and he's got to adapt. He's got to change. He's got to change how he plays his game, and he has the fundamentals. So I imagine he will adapt, and Pochettino is a good coach. But, you look at certain players, a lot of players that have gone to Man United over the years, the environment isn't right, so they haven't performed, and then they're seen as bums or whatever. And then they go off and then they go off and perform. And people say, "Oh, why couldn't you do this at United?" and blame the player rather than thinking about the environment. So as long as Arsenal create the right environment, both on and off the pitch is important, as what you're mentioning, Bhavs, in terms of buying into the project and in terms of being settled at the club and liking London and all that sort of stuff. But also having that thing of like on the pitch. Are we suiting, for example, I can imagine that what George was mentioning about Ferguson and Havertz working really well, and that could be the aim. If we get Osimhen, he's going to be a bit more of a sort of, he's not the same as Gabriel Jesus, but he has that ability to drift into wide areas, but he's going to be the focus. Is that going to work in our team? I don't know. And maybe a Ferguson won't necessarily have to be the focus of our team. So it's hard to say. It's hard to say, but I think environment is key. And the environment of clubs changes very quickly. So the environment that we have now that might feel perfect for a Osimhen or a Ferguson or a whoever might be very different next summer. Yeah,
I mean, Arsenal definitely need that, target man, a different type of profile going forwards. And some people on Twitter will believe that we've got one in playing in midfield, in Kai Havertz, but we'll talk about it in a bit.
Thanks for checking out the Cannon Podcast. To get full episodes and access to exclusive benefits, head over to patreon.com/thecannonpod and sign up for just £3 a month.